Is that the end? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to what is your last session at the 11th BFI Future Film Festival. Thanks so much for coming this afternoon. The session we're about to look at today, I should introduce myself. My name is Jez Stewart. I'm a curator of animation at the BFI National Archive, and great fun that is too. And we're here today to sort of have a panel looking at people who've won the BAFTA, or been nominated for the BAFTA for short animation in recent years. Some of them have been nominated more than once. Some of them is actually nominated for an award this evening and will be headed off to the awards after we finish. I'll let you guess from how they're dressed who that actually is. But what I just want to say a little something first, just as an opportunity that may have been mentioned this week, and if we could have the image from the laptop, please, is the opportunity that if you haven't seen it, the BFI network are, wrong window, BFI network are about to have launched a funding scheme for animation. So have a look at networkbfi.org.uk, and what we have is new opportunity to funding up to 12 animated films, budgets up to £10,000, that will get their preview here, and they may be broadcast on BBC4. And it's a really exciting opportunity because funding is really important in animation, but also audience. What we've really lacked is kind of getting new animation on television, as there was quite a lot in the 80s and 90s. So it's a new opportunity. Have a look through, read through the rules, see if you apply, and if you scroll really right to the bottom, there's me, right at the bottom, saying something more about British animation. Anyway, let's get to more relevant things. So we're going to go through, everybody's going to give you a little short presentation telling you about the film that took them towards getting a nomination, and a little bit about themselves and their route there, and then we're going to have a discussion amongst ourselves, and then we're going to open out as many questions that you like. So we're going to start off with Emulation. Right, you should look inside.
Oh, no, that one. Okay. How do I know which one's which?
It will tell you what's one. So if you start playing, it will play your clip.
Will it play the first clip or the second clip?
It will play. Is
Actually,
this the wrong way around?
I think so.
You want
That one. Yeah,
okay.
that one. Okay.
Yeah.
And what do I have to do? Sorry, I'm not very clever.
Just press the down arrow and it'll start your clip.
Okay. Okay. And okay. I'm going to press my clip, but if the people in the box up there, will you make sure the sound's quite quiet? Oh, down. Ooh. Down, sorry. Okay, so this is my career from now to present. This is my graduation film, was about Alzheimer's. It was about my grandma, and it was using real recordings of her voice, and it was about her life. I moved to Scotland, and I worked as a animator on traditional Gaelic animations, teaching Gaelic language. I worked on Monkey Dust, which is a then Charlie and Lola. I was a designer. Sorry. And then I made Mother of Many, which is the BAFTA winning one. And this was about my mum. Then I've made a film about radiotherapy for Ardman and Bristol Children's Hospital. I worked on a big project called the Tape Movie Project. I was the art director. I've made some more films for Channel 4. This one's about my car, and this one is about loving dogs. And then I made a Disney series. I was the art director again. This is about a little girl that wants to eat. And then I started a company called 4Med Films, and we make medical films. Okay, so that's really brief. Okay, so I graduated in 1998. It's a long time ago, and I got a job as far away from anywhere as I could get because I didn't want to be in a city. So I moved to the West Highlands of Scotland. I lived in a tiny little wooden hut, and it was a really good experience to work in a tiny animation company, but we were making these really handmade films, and it was before computers were really used, so it was on 35mm film, and we made a lot of different series, and then we started to use computers a bit more and use a really early version of Flash, which was called Director, but I don't think Director exists anymore. So I went from the Highlands of Scotland, I moved to London, and which was terrifying, and got work in Nexus and Sherbet. I'm not sure if Sherbet's there anymore, and big brilliant companies in London. So I got a lot of industry work in London, and then got a job as a designer on Charlie and Lola because they'd seen a lot of my design and they liked it, which was brilliant. It was a brilliant thing to work on, but it was a bit like being inside a factory in a way, because you're making, it's really, you know, you've got your job and you're not allowed to do anything else. So I was the designer and I wanted to do more, and I did do some animation in the end as well. But so after that, I travelled around the world when I was 30 and decided that I didn't want to be an animator. I wanted to open a pie shop, and and then I came back. I decided I'd make one more film, and then I was either going to have a pie shop or retrain to be a midwife, and so I made this film about my mum, who was a midwife for 30 years, and she was retiring at the time, and I wanted to make something to celebrate her life. Okay, so this is a clip. Oh, will you turn it up again, please? So it was a really big surprise to win a BAFTA. I didn't know what a BAFTA was before I got nominated for one, and I just really wasn't aware of what it was, and it was brilliant, and it was a big turning point because I hadn't made a film from the 10 years from graduating until I made Mother of Many. I hadn't made my own film. I'd been freelancing, flashing, and working in the industry just as a freelancer always, and in all different roles. So I'd done sound design, I did design, I did character design, I did all sorts of different bits and pieces and comping and things. And then I made this film and I went crazy for about 6 months. How long have I got left? Sorry, not long. 2 minutes. I went quite crazy while I was making it because it was my first film in a long time, and I think making films you do sometimes go quite crazy because you get so passionate about it and you really just want to make this beautiful thing. But then when I made that one, then every year after that I made another film, and I really enjoyed making films, and I made this Disney series and this big project with the Tate. But then my passion has always been with making medical films, so I set up my own business 3 years ago that's called 4Med Films, and we've made lots of films to help people through different medical issues and mental health issues. So at the moment we're making a film about maternal mental health. So it's the film that goes after Mother of Many, really, or it kind of goes all around it. It's about people struggling with the mental health around pregnancy, and it is made with interviewing people again, and it's made in a similar sort of way but for grown-ups, and is there anything else to say? Okay. But I hope you all do really well.
If we can have Dave next. You're over here.
What am I doing? Tapping left or up?
Use the arrow keys.
Okay, sure. Is that good? Oh, that's wrong. Just got to go back. Oh, there we go. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Prosser. I run a studio in East London called Moth Studio. Used to be called Moth Collective. Yeah, I'm just going to blast through kind of what's happened to me since I was nominated for a BAFTA in 2011. As you can see this lovely photo, I was nominated with a couple of friends. We're all in the same year. We all graduated from the Royal College of Art in 2011, and you know, it was such an honour to be nominated alongside such other great filmmakers that were my friends as well. So, you know, I've really felt that the right person won when Mikey took away that award. It's yeah. So, yeah, as I said, I graduated from the Royal College of Art. That was in 2010. And while I was there, I met a couple of people, Marie Margot and Dan Chester. And we didn't really know what we were doing, but we thought, you know, we might as well just dump all our films together and try and start like a collective, not really understanding what that word is or means. But yeah, it made it seem like maybe it was something bigger than it was, just having all our films together. So yeah, after I graduated, I started working at Studio AKA as a director and designer, and that was kind of like a dream job for me, really. I hadn't really, it's everything I'd aspired to want to be and do and work at, with some talented people there. I'm just going to show you a clip from. So this is my nominated film, Matter Fisher. I'll just show you a little trailer for it now. That makes it look so much more exciting than it is. So yeah, after making that film, being nominated for BAFTA, I started at Studio AKA, where I kind of spent a lot of time pitching on jobs. So jobs would come in, and you'd have to develop like an approach to how you imagine moving that thing forward. So here's a load of failed pitches that was over like 4.5 years maybe at AKA, and it was good to work through a lot of, I had the opportunity to develop design, and they were really supportive at Studio AKA. They allowed me to like grow and just try things out that I might have been scared to otherwise. And I got to work with directors such as like Grant Orchard, who's been nominated for a BAFTA for his film A Morning Stroll, Philip Hunt and Mark Crast as well, who have also been nominated for a BAFTA. So I learnt a lot from those guys over that time, and feel really grateful for the time I had there. But there's sort of like a bit of, I guess, Moth was always ticking over in the background, and it becomes a point where like evenings and weekends you can't like keep working sort of 2 jobs, and I guess I felt that like Moth was something I could really control, and we could really steer where we wanted to go with Moth, and the sort of jobs that we'd like to take on. So I'm just going to show you like the first commercial I worked on. It's for an oil company, and I think it was probably the point of time where I was like, oh, okay, so I don't have 100% say in this, even if as a director, and it'd be nice to be able to sort of like curate which way our company goes. So this was made at Studio AKA.
Pappa,
oh, it's in Norwegian as well.
Egentlig så er jeg skattejeger. Jeg leter etter noen skatter som verden trenger for å fungere. Og for å få tak i dem, så må vi reise langt, langt ut på havet, mye lenger enn til Vesten. Så, her skal vi med! Nå er det mye færre skatter her enn det var før. Så det er skikkelig vanskelig å finne. Men nærmer vi oss. Se, det er skatter. Ja. Men til og med når vi finner dem, så kan det være nesten umulig for oss å få skattene opp. Men det går nesten ikke an da, pappa. Nei, det gjør nesten ikke det.
So yeah, oil. There we go. But at the same time as we were doing that, we were also doing something for the WWF with Moth, and there's this like sort of conflict of like, oh, okay, two opposing things. So yeah, after being at Studio OK for 4.5 years, I left to start working with Moth and help Dan and Margot out. And it's at that point that we sort of moved from a collective of 3 people working as individuals into a sort of studio where we were all working together to try and focus on the same goal and working on jobs together. Yeah, so there was the 3 of us. I think in 2015 there was the 3 of us, and then that year we brought on a producer, and then when a producer came on, it sort of changed everything. It allowed us to like stop answering so many like emails and sort of focus on the creative. And then since then we've grown into sort of 7 full-time employees, and it's amazing. You know, it's so good to work with your friends. Again, animation's such a small industry that, you know, everybody's sort of connected, and it's just a real joy to work with friends. So make good friends. I'm going to just show you now a show reel of some of our recent work. So we're now in a sort of situation with Moth where, you know, we've built up sort of regular clients and commercials, and we're trying to figure out how to, you know, offset, keep making short films, because it's something, I think it's something we're all missing, and it's been, you know, it's been quite an effort to build a studio from the ground, but yeah, I think that's what we're moving on towards, trying to balance commercial work with making short films and develop some longer form content. Yeah, that's me.
Will, you're in the hot seat.
Hi everyone. I feel ridiculous, so yeah, I'm going to the BAFTAs after, and I don't have time to get changed, so I don't normally do things like this where I talk about myself. I don't wear a kilt. That's not my Scottish vibe. That's not what I do. Anyway, yeah, this is the 3rd time I've been nominated. It's weird, but great. I've been nominated twice, but I'm going to talk about the film that I got nominated with and won, which was in 2013. So I'm going to put on the trailer. I hope you like it.
Understand you, then but work. What is the? You don't understand anything, you silly boy. I'm not a boy. No, you're a boy. You don't No, where is the script then? Do you know the script? The script. Say the script.
Yep, so that was a trailer for my graduation film. So I studied animation at the Edinburgh College of Art, and that was the first film I've really kind of ever made. And it's about struggling with your creativity. And that is something that when I was working on it, I was like, every time I got stuck, it was about me getting stuck and not knowing what the hell I was doing, basically, with this film. So it was kind of like a turning point for me, really. I didn't think anyone would really watch it. I didn't think it would like screen at festivals, because you know, when you finish films, you tend to, you know, send them off to festivals and hope that they play at good ones and, you know, get a bit of, I don't know, a reputation, I guess. But it started playing, and like people really enjoyed it. People were laughing in a cinema, and I'd never seen it in a cinema. And it was suddenly like this strange thing for me. I just was shocked. And then it went on and won a BAFTA, which is weird. But in terms of the actual idea, I was just going to talk about the idea of it, because it was my first thing, and it was such a kind of turning point for me. I was basically looking at YouTube videos and Vimeo videos of like short films and adverts and stuff like that. And the thing that I found more interesting was the making ofs, because like I don't know, it's just the behind the scenes of like how you make a creative project just seemed to really interest me much more than the actual creative project itself. So I was thinking, if I'm going to make a film, I'm going to try and make it like a making of film, or a making of film. It's a bit meta. And just kind of be playful with it. Don't necessarily like write a really tight script, because I hadn't written a script before. And just have, you know, work with characters and put yourself in it. So the big guy there is me. And it's just my voice, and it's kind of the voices in my head, I guess. And I just thought, like, make a film that's playful and that's kind of personal. And I've continued to sort of do that over the last few years. We've made a few shorts, and there's this one tonight, and it's quite personal. So every time I get stuck, I just ask myself kind of what it's about, and it kind of informs itself, really. But yeah, this film, it's online. You should watch it. Yeah, it was taking the, okay, I want to make a making of film, and then finding like the stupidest thing in my sketchbook, which was that, and sticking them together, and like that's kind of it. And I remember like drawing that, and some of my like mates, you know, who are students, were like, thought it was funny, and like when I said I'm gonna like stick them together, I'm gonna make the making of about him, and like a few people were like, thought I was joking, and I loved that, and it ended up being kind of funny because of it, and I basically just winged it, and I don't know what I'm saying other than I've just been winging it for like years, and it seems to work. It's weird. We're doing a feature film at the moment, which is like mainly live action, but it has an animated character in it, and it's not scripted, and it's really kind of fluid, and we sort of made it up as we went along, and we're nearly done, and it's like really excited about it, but yeah, I've just been kind of winging it, really, like now, to be honest. And worked with this other guy called Ainsley. He's a puppet animator, and he's been lucky enough to be nominated for BAFTAs a couple of times as well. He's a really amazing filmmaker, but we wrote that together, and yeah, so I suppose what I'm getting at is that we tend to work together quite a lot, but we work on our own films as well, and I think that's really good. I think it's a really good thing to have a working relationship with someone, because like unlike Dave, like I don't have a studio, I don't like have a company, I kind of just write my own films and kind of work for myself, really. But yeah, having like a creative collaborators really helped me, and I forgot about that. some like sketchbook pages. This is my favourite photo of me and Ainsley together, because I'm like, he's using me as a human blanket, because I think we'd had quite a lot to drink. But I'm kind of just excited just to put this in a presentation and show it to people, to be honest. I love the photo, it's great. And our friend got married a couple of years ago, and we were the best men. And he's like a photographer, and he does these really ridiculous photos that are really like saturated, and they're really kind of surreal and all that. So we did one, and that's us both. See, he's looking at the ring. He's phoning up his brother, finding out what he should say for the speech, and I'm writing the speech there. So like, yeah, again, when you're making films with other people, you tend to send like photos of yourself for the festival like magazine, and for like you know online and stuff. So we send that one, and it's just like, it makes me so happy like seeing that. It's like, because we're really just taking the piss, really. But that's it. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's all I've got. Sorry.
Thank you, Will. Right, Yussef.
Hello, so I'm Yussef, and my background is I went to the NFTS where I made this film, Sleeping with the Fishes, and basically just throughout my life I always loved independent animation, and I'd say it's probably inspired a lot by the Channel 4 films that were made at the NFTS and the RCA and other independent filmmakers. And so at the NFTS you meet lots of super talented people, and to get here is quite surreal, and the whole BAFTA thing is really surreal, but I think it's mainly because I was lucky. I met really some talented people there, and just things somehow fell together, and so we were able to make this film. So I've got a 2-minute clip just so I could eat up as much time as possible in this. So it's kind of the middle chunk of it. So yeah, basically the whole film. just without the boring bits. So yes, after NFTS, I landed a job with the AP, just because I knew someone there, and there I was doing basically like a switchboard person with the news, live news footage for the AP, and had nothing to do with animation, and because you'd be making 10-minute stories in real time basically, while this was 10 minutes and it took about a whole year. And then the BAFTA, we were nominated, and that was amazing. Winning was super surreal. But then afterwards, I guess I was hoping that, you know, I'd be inundated with agents trying to contact me, but it didn't really happen. But then some people did contact me to do like explainers for YouTube or working on the documentaries, and I had one meeting with a studio, but then nothing really came from it. But then luckily I got a job where I'm now still in Arabic channel, and there I get lots of freedom in the sense that they give me one theme and I make a short animation of like 30 seconds, 1 minute long, and it's fun. It reminds me of the first year at the NFTS where you get something to inspire you, and then from there you make your short animation. So it's fun for that reason, but being an Arabic channel, there's some restrictions, and I think even TV in general, there's some restrictions of what you can do. So like in the meantime, I only do my own stuff idea-wise. I haven't really gone put myself out there and try to get funding or anything like that, which my advice is don't do what I do. Try and make as many contacts as you can. But really, like, we're supposed to give some advice, and my only like main big life advice would be to in your career to not compromise, because what I'm doing now, I feel like I need money, so I thought I'll try and get a job with animation and do that. But really, I think money, do whatever. It doesn't have to be something creative, but make sure it doesn't eat up all your time, so you can really focus on your own work and let that be your work. You don't have to get paid for it. That's what it could be. You could do freelance, so you have lots of time to work on your own stuff, or you could just work in anywhere in business, wherever, or you can leave the work behind you once you get home and then work on your own stuff. And yeah, that's it. Cool.
Right, quick computer change.
That's good. Let me see. The cursor is not working. Oh yeah, okay. Good. View, play. Yeah, that's it. So, hi, I'm Nina Gans. I am here to talk about my film Edmund, which you see here on the background. It won the BAFTA in 2016, I think, probably. Yeah, 16. And I'll tell you a little bit about the journey, what brought me there, if that is hopefully of any interest. I'll go through it super quickly because I have loads of making of footage to show you, because I really love making of footage as well. So I'll just go through it. So I actually, before I wanted to do animation, I wanted to be an actress, because my mom is an actress and my dad is a theater technician. And I did one acting job, and then I found out that I was really quite bad at it. And I'll show you a clip of that, and no one has ever seen it. I'm quite embarrassed that people will see it now, but I thought you just don't know Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands, so you can't even understand it. So, and I'll just switch off right away. So this is a also really horrible crime series in the Netherlands.
Wel, jongens van Thema.
Woon je hier met je ouders?
Ik woon hier bij Casey. Die is dus een beetje de baas.
En weten je ouders dat?
Wat gaat jou dat aan?
Nee.
Okay, sorry, I can't actually handle it. So, that's... thank you. So anyway, I found out that wasn't for me. I hate being in front of the camera. But I did like to tell stories. And I was from 6 years old. I already took drawing lessons. So it was kind of very clear to me that I had to go to art school. I went to art school in the Netherlands, and I brought the two together, telling stories and loving to draw. And I made my first animation there, which is this film. But I won't show you the clip because it's too long. But you can watch it on YouTube or something. But there is on an art school, you make everything on your own. And after this art school, I really want to make more animation and with a bigger crew, more like in a profession, how they do it in the professional world. And so I went and looked online, and I found the National Film and Television School. And there I saw that they really work in kind of almost a professional environment and kind of mimic that, and I thought that that's the right thing for me. So I went there, and I met loads of really great people and people that were way further than me already in animation and film, and I learned a lot from them. And one of the teachers, they actually showed me this. They took me to the Mime Festival. I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Mime Festival in London. No? You should really go. I really love it, but that's maybe because I have this theater background. But they showed me this thing. It's like yeah. So they showed me that, and I was really amazed at what happened on that stage, and it kind of stuck in my mind, and that's where I actually got the idea for my graduation film for that won later the BAFTA. And it was that you saw these people through these rooms and this turning house, and I thought, what if that would be in your mind, and you could literally go back, crawl back in your own memories, and that's what I want to do. And I wanted someone to crawl back into his memories and find something out about himself which wasn't so good. And that was that the main person wants to eat the people he loves. And that was quite a difficult sell to my tutors and to anyone that wanted to work on the film. So it was quite difficult actually. Like it's this cannibal, but he eats people out of love, and you will really love him. And that really didn't work at all. So, which was kind of good because I just really wanted to make the film. But I had to convince people that this was going to work, and I wanted this person to be lovable. So, I actually made the film. I had the idea, but I wanted to make it out of wool. So you see here, maybe you can turn the volume down a little bit here. Or I can probably do that. Oh no. Yeah, so you see here how I kind of made the puppet really quickly. Just raw wool, and just kind of put a needle in it, and then it kind of clots up to this, and you can sculpture with the wool. It's I found a really nice way of working, and because of working with wool, you can kind of soften the emotion, if that makes sense. You can tell way grosser things in this technique than if you would actually film it and you see the blood coming out somewhere. The wool the blood that I used was made of wool, and I think you can tell more. You can tell more gross things. Yeah, these were we made loads of puppets. So this is just a set. Yeah, I mean we don't have enough time, but yeah. So I'll just go on. But this you will see this house that I showed you, the turning house. This is a clip from the film, and you actually see that I worked with the sets almost like a theater set. So everything that you see is happened in camera. So we had to put sets on each other. One of the sets you're going to see is actually animated upside down. So the animator that worked with me, he had to sit on his knees for days, and it was quite tough for him actually. But I think it brings this certain feeling and this energy to it, that it's all real and not composited. So. So, so yeah, you can see that the sets are just on top of each other, and I really love that, and that's where the idea came from. I mean, you might know what an animatic is. I just put it in there just because, but maybe it's very boring. I don't know. But this is like the same stuff that you've just seen, but then in animatic form. So the animatic you actually make before you make the film. So you draw a storyboard and you put it all on time to see if it's going to work, so you don't have to film anything that you don't really need. So you see here a little clip, but I'll rush through it. Yeah. So that's the idea of an animatic. So that I think we kept pretty tight on that, and I really love working with an animatic personally, because you can just film as much as you can and it will all be used. So this is how one of the sets look like. So as you can see, there's like all these two layers and also another background. You can actually look through a window. So there's also a set with trees behind it and stuff. So it was quite tough for the animator to actually get in. And then the other thing that I really love to use is because of course you have to make them act, and I find it sometimes quite nice to have actors or myself act stuff out before I animate it, just so you get these certain detailed performances. So I asked my mom, who's the actress, did you see, and another actor of the Netherlands, to act this certain moment on the couch out, and this is what they did. Oh, that's my ass. So, yeah, I did lots myself as well. Yeah, well, that's you get it. So I think that's a very nice way of bringing, and I think it's maybe still to do with the theater stuff that I grew up in, and that I find that important, or to get these little details. And I did the same with the school play that you saw a little bit of. We had to record a whole school play, like a boys' school choir kind of. And my composer, who he sent actually, like, he made the song and he sent them over, and they practiced for 2 months. And they were super psyched to like perform for us. So I brought my camera also to get these details for the performance. But this was kind of the recording session that we used for the actual film. And I wanted them to be a bit out of tune and just how little boys are, and you will see that worked
I'm called
quite well.
Callum. I'm called Jacob. I'm called Thomas. I'm called Mark. I'm called Lewis. I'm called Brandon. I'm called Toby. I'm called Josh. I'm called Marcus. Hi, I'm called Beast.
Here's one, Brandon. Yeah. And
these are my feet. I walk with my feet over the hills and down my street. These are my ears. I listen with my ears. And when I see you crying tears, I walk with you. I listen to you.
1, 2, 3.
'Cause that's what friends do.
Perfect. Right, you're super scared, and I do mean scared. You've seen this horrible ghost. Horrible ghost. Are we ready? Yeah. 1, 2. Give me one of those. Perfect!
Yeah. So yeah, that was really cool, and I wanted to take that little boy home with me, but his mother didn't let me, and yeah. But yeah, that was amazing. I would say, you know, whenever you can work with a big crew or just get people involved and take their opinion on board, but always, you know, with critique it's difficult, but I love giving my film to loads of people and getting feedback, but just know that what you do something with the feedback what you want. So if they give you any notes or something, maybe there is a problem there, but maybe it's a different, you know, a different solution. And I loved working with the crew, and I think it brought the film to whole other levels than I even could have imagined it. So for now, I'm working with Blink. Blink Inc. signed me after, actually after they saw the film, before I won the BAFTAs, together with my creative partner Simon Cartwright, who was also nominated for a BAFTA the same year. And we worked together on, this is not our work, by the way, this is just Blink Inc. We actually did loads of pitches and got one commercial. I mean, I think it's really good to work for a company like Blink Inc. I really like them, and they make really amazing stuff. And it's really useful to know how to pitch and to do it, but it's really nice to have something aside from it. So we're also working on our next new film. This is kind of a little snippet of it. It's a live action combined with animation. It's gonna be a bit crazy, but I think it's going to be quite fun, and you know, I really feel very happy that I can make something like this, and I guess that's also to do with, you know, winning a BAFTA and people, maybe financiers or producers, kind of trusting you, I guess, that you can make something good, which helps a lot. Although this person who I'm making this with, I know her from when I was in the Netherlands, so that I think that's also very, very nice that you have people that before you win the BAFTA that already like your work. So that's I kind of stick with those people anyway. So we're working on something, and I have no clue what it's going to be. Never really done the technique. The same as Edmund, I never worked in that technique before, and I like working on stuff that slightly freak me out, I guess, because you have to work on it for 2 years. It can better be a bit exciting than boring, I guess. Yeah. These are references. Oh yeah, and then I just want to share one last clip, just because I saw it the other day in Brighton, and I think it was one of the most amazing things I've seen. It's very quick. You see it? Did you see it? Want to see it again? I want. Oh no. Okay, you can't see it again. No, you can't see it again. Sorry. The little dog had a helmet on. Did you see that? Anyway, that's where you get the ideas from, I think. Thank you.
Come and join me at the mics. And just while we're here, just thanks ever so much for your time and sharing so much of your experiences. I think one of the things that's quite obvious from this is that we talk about animation, but actually it means an awful lot of things. It's a way of making film. It's not a particular style or medium of filmmaking. And one of the reasons we wanted to put this panel on is the idea that you kind of think of winning a BAFTA award as something like a pinnacle of a career, but what we can see very clearly is actually it's just the start. For in particular the sort of animation industry. So I wanted to ask you, you know, what's the most alarming discovery that you've had since winning a BAFTA? Open to anybody. About the industry that you're kind of coming into.
Yeah. Good question.
Anyway.
What's the most alarming thing?
Well, I suppose how different is the industry that you're in than what you thought it was going to be?
I suppose I personally, with my stuff, I didn't think, like I kind of said earlier, I didn't think that what I had to say was that important. and that I would stand out in industry, you know, not knowing the industry. But I you know, Dave said it earlier, it is a small industry. So if you are doing stuff and making things, people will see it, you know. So I suppose having a voice that's valid is what surprised me about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I guess it was your graduation film, my graduation film.
Mm-hmm.
Your two graduation films.
Wasn't mine.
It wasn't yours, no. But like, I guess it says a lot about maybe sort of short film funding, and you know, the fact that there's always a graduate film in the BAFTAs usually. So I mean, for me personally, I'd only experienced sort of school and the small bubble that is the Royal College of Art. So I didn't really know like anything when I started as a director. Especially directing stuff at like 3D, I'd never touched before. So, I mean, how little I knew, I think, is.
Yeah, I mean, I think now you say it, like I think we've been quite lucky to make these films in school, because you never really think about like you have to have a whole crew for a year, and space. I mean, space in London for a year, that's quite, you know. I mean, I couldn't afford it. So to make a film like that, I think in school was kind of the only way. And yeah, so but yeah, she has a better story.
It's not a better story. It's not a better story. Mine's completely different because I've been in the industry for 10 years, and so it was a real boost to my career and a brilliant thing. But it hasn't really made that much difference. You know, it has, because I've kept making films, always kept making films, and it is probably what made me. It was what made me not start a pie shop.
Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
I know. I just realised, I guess, with winning a BAFTA for a film that's about medicine and real life, just that animation can be used for such good and to do such good. So I guess it changed my life completely.
Do any of you know somebody who went to film school just to make the film? I mean, because it was the only funding that they could get. And maybe you could talk a little bit about experiences of the places that you went. You touched on it a little, between the difference between perhaps the National Film Television School and the RCA, and perhaps you could talk a little bit about Edinburgh College of Art. You went to Edinburgh?
Yeah, I went to Edinburgh. Yeah. I didn't actually know that I was supposed to make a film. Like I knew that I was always interested in animation. I didn't realise that. I think it was in second year. I was like, "Oh, you need to make a film when you finish." I'm like, "Oh my god, what am I going to do?" So it really was. I personally didn't go to college to make a film. I just went because I just felt like I wanted to make. And I feel like animation is like the hardest thing I could think to do. Like, well, it's like it's so because you can do anything. Not that you should, which I've learned. You shouldn't just do anything. Limitations are great, but like it was more of just me being excited about the medium, really, and hopefully that comes across in films, I guess. But yeah.
I kind of agree with that. Like I came in from illustration, was my undergraduate, so I had only just started experimenting with animation at the end of that year, so it was just all brand new and exciting for me. So, but I think in terms of the difference of schools, I mean the RCA is you're very much left to yourself, and you can crew up if you want, but you know it's not, you don't have to, which is, you know, complete opposite to an FTS. And like learning things, we sort of learnt from, you know, there's no sort of animation workshop or anything. There's like a little one at the start, and then you're sort of left to your own devices. But you kind of learn from your peer group, you know, techniques, skills. There's, you know, some people were already working in the industry, so they would employ you, give you a bit of money to help. You know, that's sort of how it worked for me.
And graduating from the DS, did you feel you had more of the head start because of that industry style way of teaching, or is it a drop off a cliff, the kind of the graduation process?
No, I mean most of I think the jobs out there for animators are like you go to a studio and you get to pitch for commercial stuff. And I think when I graduated, NFTS it was always the RCA people that kind of got that work, and NFTS never really had a plan for afterwards. It was just like make a film and then see what happens. But I think now it seems like a lot of people coming from the NFTS, it seems to be getting a better reputation for more kind of auteur animators, you know, with their own voice.
I think NFTS has always had a really good reputation for me, from some, like, you know, like all the people that I loved when I went to college were NFTS completely.
It's definitely had a great reputation, but I always noticed that you see the directors at AK and Blink, etc., they come from RCA and more kind of individual kind of MAs, because the NFTS is very much about collaborating, and then you get lots of people working in TV, I think, from the NFTS when I was back in my day.
Yeah, I mean, for those who aren't too aware, it is a sort of practical way that your graduation film, then you are bringing in somebody who is working on a screenwriting course and somebody who's working on a producing course and a composition course, and it's a kind of a collaborative effort, which is very different than a lot of the other art colleges, where it is more you're left to yourself, and I suppose it suits different sets of skills, and it's something that for those who are thinking of going to an animation course, it's an important thing to evaluate. I'm going to turn it over for questions, but I just want to ask one thing, because we have an audience here of, and it could be anywhere between 16 to 25, and what would be the kind of piece of advice that you would give back to yourself at that age, assuming that, or pieces of advice?
Open a pie shop? I don't know. Sorry, that was a silly thing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was sort of touched on it when I was bumbling through my talk, but like, I think just friends and everything. As you said, like, animation's so well connected, and you inevitably they might be the people that employ you or like help you out, or you can pull a favour from. I'm sure we've all done that in the past, and like also when your film goes to festivals, hopefully you can, you know, if you're going to be studying in London, they're very international schools, you'll make friends from all around the world, and it's nice to be, you know, if you get a chance to go to a film festival, to be plugged into that and see a bit of that country or whatever you're going to, and yeah, friends for life.
Yeah, I would like, obviously, you know, bigger teams at NFTS, mine's a smaller team, but I would say work with people, you know, like, it doesn't need to be, you know, it's great when it happens, you know, like, you know, at your school, you know, when you went. But I kind of work exclusively kind of with my mate of mine who I write with, and it always brings up new, exciting things that I wouldn't have thought of. So it would be like, just be open-minded, and I'm not particularly confident about my ideas, really, but try and be confident about it, because your stuff's probably worth seeing.
Yeah. It's interesting working, because you guys are all working with people as well, and it's just like two heads or three heads can get to a conclusion a lot quicker. Especially when we work commercially, it's like, you know, you're not by yourself wondering whether you're doing the right thing. You can split it between three of you.
I work on my own a lot. Or I have a team, but I don't have like a writing partner or something like that. But it is different. It's different going to the NFTS or going to like Hull School of Art and Design, which is where you work from the bottom up, and you don't come out of college and go and be a director. You come out of university and you work for people and you work with people, and I like that way of working. I think you've all got a completely different experience to me in the way you've started to direct. Mine has been a gradual building up of learning all of the skills, and building up until I have a lot of confidence because I've done everything, and I don't think, you know, I don't think it's good advice to say. It's not bad advice. I think don't go out of university expecting to just become a director. I think it's quite privileged to get to do that, and to keep working hard and learning from everybody that you work for, because you'll learn a lot from working for people and working with people.
Definitely, an animation is an industry with a whole range of jobs, and a lot of, you know, in terms of different, whether you're character design, you know, script writing for animation is a very particular task, whether that's for sort of commercial jobs or fiction jobs. We're dying out for more producers of animation and people who understand the needs of the director, and actually to bring something together that's just as important. It's a range of roles in a very creative kind of moving industry. And I realised I did have one other question, and you touched on this, Yussef, and I remember, I think it was, I never know if he's Nicolas Ménard or Nicolas Ménard, because he's Quebecois, but he put a tweet basically advising, what is a kind of sort of tweeted manifesto of advice of kind of working 3 days on other people's jobs, 2 jobs on things for your 2 days on things for yourself if you're able to do that. So sort of having that split that you are keeping your own kind of fires burning, your own creative juices running, and that actually does feed back to your creative work, and it opens up new opportunities. Is that something that you think is kind of important, that kind of balance?
Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes I think to myself, I know it sounds quite bad as well, maybe it might be bad advice, but I thought, you know, it'd be great if I just did like a marketing degree and I could have done 9 to 5, making loads of money, and then within 6 months, you know, maybe take a break and then just make my own film. And I do think it's more important just to make your own stuff and not worry about too much about having a job in the animation industry. I know it's kind of weird to say, but or you could work on somebody else's film. And I know people who are freelancers, so for me they're the luckiest people, because I'm doing full-time contract, and they do their animations, but I still see them kind of tire themselves out from doing the corporate thing. And I think you don't want your creativity to be tainted. Even in university, doing A-level art put me off wanting to do art, and that's just the way I am. But maybe some people out there who really enjoy drawing and animating, you don't want to have it spoiled by that kind of. You don't want it to feel like work, basically. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. Sorry.
I've done that a lot of freelancing, just so that I do a really well paid, some adverts and some things that I really don't care too much about, and then I've made films where I've got no budget. Yeah, so you just work to work to make, like you say.
Yeah, you have to value your own time.
Yeah, and you can not pay yourself something because you've made the money to live through that time.
I think that's ideal, really. Well, I do the same. I'm freelance, and then work sometimes some jobs at Blink, which is really nice because you can, you know, work with other people and see how they do stuff. But I cannot not really do what you do, is then, oh, this is not so important, and then take less. I'm still thinking about it all every evening and stuff, and it just takes over. There's this big.
Oh, it does take over. No, I mean, not making films at the same time. You know, you do the thing that you don't want to do, and then you make a film for 5 months.
Yeah, and just move out of London, and then you can pay your rent. Which is what I did.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Well, they do it. Well, he lives in Edinburgh.
Yep.
He in London, and you're in London. So.
Yeah. Let's get your questions ready. We have some microphones, so please put up your hand if you have a question, and please do have one, because otherwise you're going to get another inane question from me, like where do you get your ideas from? What's your favourite colour?
Green.
Yes, we've got one here.
So, hello. In your opinion, is it possible to combine working in film and animation? And if it is, what course at university could be the most supportive to do so?
Who's that for? For everyone.
Anybody, yeah.
So you said you're working on a live action project
Yes.
at the moment.
Yeah, I don't really differentiate, like, they are so different, animation and live action. With most of the films that I've made, they're normally got live action in them. I don't tend to differentiate, you know, or you do live action this way and animation that. I just kind of do it. But and what you're asking, what courses you could do?
Well, where is it better to start, maybe?
Where's it better to start?
Yeah.
Probably just with the ideas. I often just think that the only reason there's animation in my thing is because the idea calls for it. So if I'm talking to a piece of paper, you know, and he's speaking at me, it's like, okay, I'll animate that, that makes sense. We made another film about a monkey in a cage, and like, we shouldn't try and get a monkey to act, you know, that's not right. But like, animation's perfect, you know, because we can make it and we can set it inside, you know, we have control. It's kind of about what it is you're maybe wanting to talk about, or wanting to tell a story about, or, you know, that comes first, I think. If that is anywhere nearly answering your question, I'm not sure.
In terms of the kind of the companies working more perhaps on the commercial side and the briefs that people are getting, do you find that there is a segregation between the companies that work in animation, have a particular group of freelancers or staff, and those who work in live action, or do you find that there is a crossover?
seems quite separate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an animation company, there's a live action company.
Yeah.
I collaborate with a live action company sometimes, but they know what they do and they know what they do, and I know what I do.
Yeah, I suppose I'm not talking about commercials.
No, I'm just
talking
trying to
about,
find
like,
a range of answers to the question, really.
No, Blink does do
this-
live action and a lot of puppetry stuff actually, which is of course kind of shot live action, but it's still puppets, and I think they do a mixture way more often because they have in the same company they have a live action side and a animation side, and we're all together in this one space, so the directors all talk, which is really quite cool. I think it's a nice setup, and they're not afraid of using live action, which is much quicker. I heard, so that's nice.
I think the idea leading to a particular technique is an important one. Let's have another question. Otherwise, I'm going to tell you my anecdote. I interviewed the daughter of John and Joy Hallis the other day. Oh, we got a question. Thank God for that.
Hey everyone. So I never made an animated film, and I'm really interested in perhaps making my first one. The only problem is I have no idea exactly where to start. I have an idea of a dog who becomes friends with a griffin, and I told some friends. They're like, "Wow, that sounds really weird," and I was like, "Well, it is, but now I don't know what else to do. Like, what are like the most fundamental steps you think I should work on, to move on and get this out there?"
Get it on paper and try and storyboard it out and see if, and then either shoot it on a camera and stitch it together in a timeline to make like an animatic. And I don't know, just
draw it.
Yeah, decide
Dive
how you want to make it first. Do some drawing.
I keep a sketch. Well, I'm sure most people here do, but I kind of religiously keep a sketchbook. Even if I'm writing nonsense and nothing's happening, I tend to. I keep it's always in my bag, and even if it's just words, like more often than not, it's just words that probably aren't spelled correctly. But just start to make it real, like write it down. And, that would start the ball rolling, I guess.
Yeah, you already have an idea, and I think that's the hardest part. Sometimes is coming up with the story. So with animation, you could just work from home. I want to recommend there's like a website I found recently called schoolism.com, and they just teach like the industry standard animators in America, and they teach some really cool stuff if you want to improve.
A lot of a lot of the like software, for example. You can talk about software for ages, but a lot of people I know, just learned it, by looking at YouTube videos. You know what I mean? If they're interested in 3D animation, then they might, just start looking at tutorials, and like a lot of them are free, But it's really, I'm saying easy to jump in.
Animation's easy though, isn't it? It's just really fun to do. You just, you can do it on your like phone and things like that, can't you? Animation is so simple, the technique and what you're actually doing, and if you can understand how to do it on a telephone, you can understand what animation is. I don't know. I think people should just animate more.
I think that's definitely good advice. That's from an animation panel, although you're making competitions yourselves. But is there any particular on the line of that, any particular book or influential documentary or figure or something that actually has helped you along the way to develop your ideas and
Everyone's got the Animator's survival kit, I think.
It's like
do you like it though?
No, never.
I've never read it.
Never read it.
Do you have it?
I have it, but I always just take it to workshops and let children look at it and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I've referred to it for like a walk cycle a few times or something. And
it's just like we have to have it on our book.
Yeah.
Like shelf.
Animation survival kit. Get it.
So Richard Williams, Animation Survival Kit. If you were really well off, you could. How much is the DVD set? It's probably
like
about
£80,
£400, I think. But some of them are online. But there's great advice. But I think the big I look back into, I'm very lucky to be able to look back into the history of British animation quite a lot, and there are often opportunities where, for example, a figure like Bob Godfrey, I think, is a really interesting figure to look at, because he came out of a very old-fashioned way of large animation studios, and when commercial television started, suddenly you only had to make 30 seconds of content for a TV, and they realized that actually you didn't have to do all the complicated movements to make an animation. What you needed was the idea. So they went back to using cutout, they went back to simple kind of animating on 3s and 4s rather than laying things down, and the idea was the most important stuff, and almost a kind of a, not necessarily punkish, because it was the 1950s, but a way of changing and making the idea at the centre and the storytelling at the centre. And then he went on to make more sort of convoluted animation, or he went on to make things like Rhubarb, just done with magic markers on bits of paper, but it was the idea that was central, and it's something that is there. And that's not a question. But as we tie back, it is a difficult industry that you kind of graduated into. There was a period in the 1980s and 90s where Channel 4 and BBC were putting more support into animation, and films were getting shown on television more, and there was a little bit more recognition. Feel free to, I work for the BFI, and we need to do more to fund animation, so it's good that development at the start, but it is for emerging animators. Have you thought about going overseas to find different opportunities ever?
Yeah, I mean, overseas to actually finance a film, right?
Yeah, to have more opportunities.
We're working now on this new film. I mean, you all have probably different, but I couldn't. I really want to work with an English team, because here I found everybody that worked on Edmund and Simon. They worked on Man O' Man, and we have our perfect team, and they're from England, but we can actually not spend any money in England because we're not getting any English money. We're getting money from the Netherlands, from France, and maybe from Canada. So. That's very difficult, because we really want to work with these people again, and also you work with them for a year and they didn't get paid, and you want to pay them for once, so it's I find that quite tough, and we didn't find anything yet in England. So
the funding has just gone down and down and down since I began. It started at like when I started, there was, I think Channel 4 gave like 20,000 to make a film, and now they give 2.5, like for a Random Acts film. You can't do anything. I produce Random Acts films, but it's just it's a real nightmare really to have such tiny budgets.
Yeah.
Kind of not worth it.
And that kind of rules out functioning as a studio, because there's 3 of us and a full-time staff. Like, that's it. We can't.
Yeah, you wouldn't pay you for a week.
Yeah,
all of you.
Is it a little different in Scotland, or is there more?
There is like Creative Scotland, so we could apply to that, and again, it's a smaller pond. So I suppose I've been lucky to get funding for a short after because obviously that was a graduation film. But then the most recent one I've done, I'm going to tonight, that's nominated. I had no funding for that. I made it in my spare time, but I was working at a design job, and I put it aside the time to do it. I just kind of accepted that I wasn't going to get any funding for it, and I did try a bit, but there's not a lot of money for animation, I don't think.
Even when they are funded, even when the funding was a bit more, and it sounds like £10,000 sounds like a lot of money to somebody that's it does sound like a lot of money, but it's not at all, is it? Even when the funding was a bit bigger, like that's what Mother of Many was. I didn't have enough. I worked for 9 months for £1,000, which doesn't pay for rent.
Any other questions, please? Yes, we've got one there.
Hi. This is more of a technical question because you mentioned softwares. I made my first animation short film last year, and I use a mixture between 3D Maya and Photoshop for the animation and draw animation. And I just wanted to know what softwares for draw animations besides Photoshop, which I found it was pretty good because of the drawing tools that he had. What do you recommend in draw animation?
I don't do that much drawn stuff. I do a lot of puppet stuff, but I would really recommend TV Paint. It's like Photoshop. It's really good. I've done them. Depends on what the idea is. TV Paint's great. Photoshop's great though. for? I don't. Do you do a lot of drawing stuff, right?
Yeah,
So-
we used to animate a lot in Photoshop. It's kind of clunky, but yeah, TV Paint, Flash people still use for drawing.
Toon Boom. But
Toon Boom, yeah.
I like TV Paint a lot.
Yeah, I mean when we bring freelancers in, usually, like it doesn't matter what like software as long as you can achieve like what we want to achieve. So we usually we're flexible as to what we have licenses for TV Paint, but also Flash, and if you can do it in After Effects, that's even better. Save you drawing it out.
Or pencils. Use pencils and paper.
That's an option. Definitely.
Another question? Yes.
Hello, I just want to ask how to figure out the movements, because if it is human figures, like you can have people act it out and as a reference, but what if it's something abstract? How do you figure out movement?
That's a big question, isn't it? It's like play, you just get into it, you just do it. If it's that, I don't know.
Experiment.
Again, we were talking earlier about books and all that, and again, don't really use them, just fight through it. And
it is using your imagination, isn't it?
Yes,
and
it
using
is,
your
yeah.
body, like if you can imagine with something how something moves, like with humans, you can walk with your body and feel what it feels like for your body to move like that and what that looks like without filming it and without watching it. You can feel what the movement is, but you can do that. I think you can do that with anything abstract in a way. It's just a way of thinking that you experiment and you keep adding frames in and experimenting until it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, you have to really love it, don't you?
Yeah.
And love that, and just want to just do it.
Just love pressing the play button every time they play. yeah, and then oh no, and then you have to put another frame in and just press the play button again, and just over and over. And if that makes you exciting, that's good.
Yeah, it's really rewarding when it works.
It is. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's just like playing all the time.
And that excitement,
Amazing.
that excitement doesn't wear off. I think I still get excited about when you make something move in a different way. Or
And then like musicians come and Foley artists, and then it's like wow, it's like something else. Just
It's the best. I love that bit so much.
Yeah,
the music and the sound.
I still have another question, sorry. And what about the music? Sometimes you do you have music beforehand and then go with it, or do you add music afterwards, or create music for it?
So a question about music. Do you tend to work in advance?
I've done that with that first thing I showed, the black and white film. I had the music beforehand, and I gave my composer a timeline, like I want this to be this long as an intro, then this happens, kind of. And then I actually animated it on the music, which I really actually loved, and I'm thinking of doing that again. It's just I think you do have to come back with the music. So I animate, and sometimes things didn't hit completely, and then your composer has to adjust again a little bit. But I really like that you just have that soundtrack that you can be influenced by. I love that, but usually that doesn't happen. I think usually it comes after.
Yeah, I do it the other way, but I've done it that way too, and it's lovely that way. But it kind of saves time if you, well, not saves time, but if you make an animatic and you plan out the film really intensely, that then you have points to hit for the musician, for the composer to hit, and to aim at.
Do you ever have that Hitchcock thing in that you got your animatic so right that the actual process of animation drags on? Do you feel you need to have something extra in there to some kind of to keep something interesting to yourself? Do you kind of what's the word I'm looking at, improvise a little bit on your animatic, or are you pretty strict on those?
I'm really strict.
yeah, commercial stuff sort of have to be. But I think if you're doing personal stuff, I like to keep it quite loose. Just keep the spontaneity, keep it alive, so it's not totally.
With yours, when you're doing like live action and animation a bit more, do you have an animatic the same way?
Well, for Longbird, for that one, no.
No.
It was no animatic. It was just editing the audio. Because it was about conversation, so it's not thinking about the animation at all, really. Just about the dialogue. The most recent film I've made I made silently, you know, and then got the music after. And that didn't have an animatic, and then the one it's kind of because it was stop frame animation. The other one, Monkey Love Experiment, that was like to the frame animatic. It just depends, really, just because of time and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to. If you don't want to shoot anything extra, it's really good to be super strict and have a really good animatic, like very detailed, and have it timed almost, like the real. Well, it's timed anyway, but like have some actual key movements in there. I found that very good for Edmund because I had no day to lose. But I mean, for something I'm doing now, I haven't made an animatic, and it's kind of a fluent animation where it kind of one thing goes into another, it's kind of transforms. So yeah, you just want to see where it kind of brings you. So it really depends. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got time for maybe one or two more questions, if anybody has some. I am aware that this is the last session, and after this there are networking drinks. So I have a feeling that is starting to edge on the people, and I've been told to advise you to ask. So we have a question here. Good.
So I'm curious both about interest and feasibility in making a feature versus making a short on your own. If that's, I mean, is that something any of you have experience with or interest in, or is it just kind of an inaccessible thing when you just have your own personal resources and time?
So the step to feature.
Yeah, I'm making a feature, as I said, and it's really hard. But it's been again, it's to do with the idea that, you know, it's quite a fluid sort of documentary thing that I'm making, that I'm grabbing when I can. It's not like a fiction film budget sort of thing that we're doing. It's we're kind of grabbing it when we can. But it's been about 4 years now, and we're kind of just got the finances together for it. It's hard, but it's idea first, it's story first. You know, a lot of that was development and just working out what it was. But yeah, I don't know like hard facts about, you know, fiction film or whatever to feature, but and I don't know if it's viable. I'm not sure. I was like so new to it, you know. But I'm trying my hardest to make one and see. Maybe the next one will be a little bit easier. I sincerely hope so.
I think a lot of the time animation is nice as shorts. I kind of like that. The old woman and the pigeons. The what's he called? Sylvain Chomet, who made, what else has he made? Belleville Rendezvous. Belleville Rendezvous for me is so long, but his 20-minute film, Old Woman and the Pigeons, is really perfect and really beautiful. And in some things with animation, it just feels like the ideas are quite often so simple. And why make something that's going to take you like 6 years or something when you could make something really beautiful and compact? And editing and making things shorter, I think, is a really satisfying thing anyway, like to try and make something as compact as it can be. I'm terrified of feature film.
We're trying to develop something at the minute which isn't quite a feature film, but it will live in the theatre. It's like a 50-minute chunk of animation, which is, you know, quite sizable, and we've struggled with funding in the UK, so we've now got a French production company which has opened up sort of Arte, and, you know, there's much more funding in France. But yeah, I mean, we're just starting that journey, so it's new. But I feel that, you know, things like having a BAFTA nomination and having a portfolio of some work that suggests the work that you want to make or something is hopefully going to help with securing some funding.
Well, it's definitely not just a British problem, that kind of step to a feature, particularly for an animated film, which is not just for children, but it is something that if you ever see every film, pay to go to the cinema to see every animated feature that's not for adults, seek out short films and make sure that they're being seen, and that will really support the industry. Let's get these things seen and made and talked about, because that's how we change the industry. And when the BFI asks for what's important for its next steps, then do talk about animation and do talk about funding, because that's how changes will be made. And I do hope that there will be some developments on that based on the feedback of the last sort of poll that BFI put out in terms of that their funding will not necessarily just be about live action features, that they may spread things out. So that is something to always to pull for. But we should wrap this up because Will has plans this evening, so we should definitely all wish him luck. And a big thanks for your time for our guests. Thanks for coming.